Good morning and thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup with me, Niraj Shah. And it's yet another morning where the global markets are not necessarily the best. So let's first take stock of the global news flow. And Nasdaq got the Nvidia boost because that stock really flew. But the rest of the market in the US was sluggish. And the Asian stocks are tracking the Wall Street lower as the Fed rate cuts are seen to be delayed. So globally, there is a bit of a calm or a bit of a pullback, if you will. Pretty similar like yesterday, but we did really well yesterday. So let's see what happens. Imagine that Samsung shares are now dropping on reports that it failed the Nvidia test due to heat. I urge you to read that story, but keep in mind that a behemoth like Samsung is now dependent on an Nvidia test as well. SpaceX, amongst other things, is weighing a plan to sell shares, an IPO, at a $200 billion valuation. Now, that is something. In fact, Musk's OpenAI, Musk's AI, XAI, if I'm not wrong, is being valued at $24 billion as well. So, while Tesla is going down, some of the others are pulling back Musk up the billionaire's value chain. And oil prices have fallen for the fourth session on a trot, and the US yields are steady. This is actually good news for our markets. Remember, 3 days on a trot, we were down yesterday. Oil prices have corrected further, which should be a positive. Now, an interesting stock. I mean, we're speaking about Nvidia and some of the others, but did you know that Hanmi Semiconductor Company, it's a listed semiconductor stock in Korea, has surged 1,200% since the end of 2022? I bet you didn't. I didn't either till this morning. Some of you may know, but for those who don't, go and look at the kind of meteoric rise that this stock has had, just for fun. Okay, now let's get to the trade setup for the day today. We've had a really strong day in trade because of what the Reserve Bank of India did. Now, keep in mind, we may argue till the cows come home about how the global markets are sluggish, but they were sluggish yesterday. But because of this RBI bonanza, things did what they did yesterday. And remember, money markets were shut yesterday. If the bond yields correct today, you might actually have further build up in fervor as well. So Indian markets are doing their own thing and very likely, to my mind, very likely to maintain momentum. Can the weekend selling, people who've bought in for the week, come in, book profits? Can that happen? Sure. Can that pull the markets lower as well? Sure. Our Indian valuation is expensive? Sure. But I think momentum is in favor. And even if that happens today, I still think next week, unless something really untoward happens, we are set for pretty decent gains. It's the first hint that we saw yesterday of some serious short covering from the FI side and global buying seen in tandem as well. Remember, FI flows were positive yesterday by a large margin. So that's to be kept in mind as well. And infra and PSU banks remain the top draw along with select media stocks. Why do I say media? Because we've seen hint of buying coming in one or two names. Is that turning a little bit? That's the key question. But the top favorites, infrastructure and PSU banks. And you saw what happened in the delivery-based buying yesterday. That will give you an idea. Look at this. This is, by the way, in lakh shares. So Adani Enterprises, the stock was up yesterday. Thursday's delivery, stocks marked for delivery, 18.28 lakh shares. The 5-day average, 11.58. Similarly for Adani Port, nearly double the volume, 27 lakh shares marked for delivery in yesterday's session alone. The 5-day average, 13.61. L&T, 21.29 versus 12.45, nearly double. And for some of the banks as well, HDFC Bank saw some enhanced buying. There was IndusInd Bank, there was BOB, all of which saw some serious buying in Thursday's session. Stocks marked for delivery combined on BSE and NSE versus the 5-day averages. The only one which kind of didn't do as well on delivery-based buying, but maintained that momentum was SBI, just about the same. But some of the others have had very strong buying, and I reckon that today with the yields coming off, if they do, I think they will, we might still see some bit of further buying coming in as well. Now, earnings today, a clutch of them. I think the important ones, NTPC, PSUs, all forms of PSU is important. Then Hindalco as well as Hindustan Copper because of this whole commodity rally that we've seen. I think very important. HUDCO too from a PSU angle, very important. I think people will be watching out for commentary from United Spirits in particular, Ashok Leyland as well, and Manappuram Finance. Word on the street is that maybe this quarter could see some chinks, but remember the commentary from Manappuram Finance because of gold loan lending from a bunch of others has been tempered down. The commentary from Manappuram Finance about what could happen ahead could well draw the key for what the stock does. So be mindful, watch out for the con call or the media interview, not necessarily only the results if you are a slightly long-term buyer. Now, stocks to watch in the session today, let's get them one by one. I think Bikaji could well turn out to be the stock of the day today. Revenues up 32% at 614. That was in line with estimates. But look at what it did on margin front. serious a performance. Margins at 26.2 versus 13%. The Bloomberg estimate was 23.8, which was also very strong. It's beaten that as well, as a result of which the net profit was up 197% at 116 crores. The Bloomberg estimate, BBE is Bloomberg estimate. Bloomberg estimate was 103 crores. So very strong performance there. And I think essentially gross margin expanded by 910 basis points because raw material costs came off quite materially for Pikaji Foods. 910 basis points decline in the raw material costs, which led to the EBITDA margin expansion. Could well turn out to be one key stock to monitor in the session today. Let's get some others up on the screen. JK Lakshmi Cement revenues were a bit of a problem, down 4.4% at 1781 crores, but margin expansion, strong margin expansion, I must say, 18.9. The estimate was 14.7, as a result of which bottom line 162 crores was 143 crores. Will the street get upset about the revenue mix, or will the street like the cost control and the margin beat? I think that's the factor. I would reckon that the street may like the margin performance. Johnson Control, after a very tepid quarter 3, I think they've come out remarkably well in quarter 4, beating estimates. Revenues, 40% uptick, 772. The estimate was 666 crores. Again, margin is where they did the magic. 10.6 versus 4.3%. The estimates were 6.8%. The bottom line estimates too, way higher than the estimated 15% or a loss of 1 crore. They did a profit of 49 crores. Johnson Control could well react positively in the session today. Let's get Sandhar Tech up on the screen. Revenues up 20% at 918 crores. The estimate was 884, so this was in line. Again, margins did well, 10.7 versus 8.8%, as a result of which the bottom line performance 36 crores versus expectation of 25 crores, of 45% uptick. Sandhar Tech is the other one that could actually have a good day in trade today. Fortis Healthcare, strong performance. Revenues in line, 1786 versus 1791, 8%. But again, margins. It's been a margin story today for a lot of stocks, some on the negative side as well. But first, the positives, 21.3 versus 16.5. The estimates were 18.6. Therefore, the PAT number 2, 47% uptick at 203 crores. Estimates were 167 crores. Again, could do well in trade. What may not do well? I said some companies haven't. So Bayer Crop Science, revenues down 19% at 792, way lower than estimates. Margins way lower than estimates, 12.2 versus 21%. The estimates were 22%. This has failed miserably. PAT down 39% at 96 crores. The estimate was 137 crores. Very likely that this number could be lower. Keep in mind though, for a lot of these agrochemical companies, what happens in the quarters ahead, because they've had such a tough last few quarters, that if a slight hint of positive commentary could take them higher. We've seen that in the case of UPL, could happen in Bayer's case. Let's wait and watch. Be careful if you're trading this one. Orchid Pharma is the other one. Revenues were up, though lower than estimated, but margins too out there may be a problem. Yes, 13.3 versus 18.9. The estimates were 16%, as a result of which the bottom line performance 33 crores versus 34 crores, but down 44%, may react negatively as well. So that's to be watched out for. Indigo is the last one, the big one, but the last one. Splendid performance. You can't find too many faults with this one, really. Revenues slightly ahead of estimates. Margins in line or slightly ahead of estimates, you could argue. Bottom line almost in line with estimates again. 1895 versus 1916. Hardly any change there, but 106% uptick in growth. Lots of deliveries coming in for Indigo. I think they've maintained their market share. Could well turn out to be an interesting stock to monitor in the session today. Just wondering if I have any brokerage notes on Indigo, and just wanted to see that before I get to maybe Petronet, LNG as well. Yes, so there is a Morgan Stanley note on Indigo. I don't have the graphics here, but let's stick to the Indigo graphics here. Morgan Stanley says that they have hiked the target price to 5142 from the current 4400, but their earlier target price was 4615. They are saying Indigo is set to change over the next few years. Indigo 2.0 is here. Loyalty programs, business class and long haul international planned. The change may involve near-term cost pressures, but we also believe it's the right strategy as the consumer is also evolving. So watch out for Indigo. At least Morgan Stanley is certainly bullish, so I'll watch out for that. In fact, I have an Elara note as well, actually, which has a sell rating. Their target price is 19% lower. So let's wait and watch what Indigo does in the session today. Interesting one to monitor for sure. And Petronet LNG is the other one. I think Cities maintained a sell rating with the target price of 260 versus the current price of 308. Nomura has increased the target price to 300 from 290, but it's still lower than the 308. So Petronet LNG, let's see if it comes under a bit of pressure here. So these are a few stocks that you should monitor. Watch out for bond deals and watch out for PSU banks in particular. Would be a very interesting tactical thing to keep an eye out for. Thanks so much for tuning into the Trade Setup. Have a great weekend, but do tune in to the television show. We have a clutch of very exciting conversations lined up.